Hey y'all, today's video is about God's purposes. I'm excited to give this one because I know exactly what I need to say. Like, let's just get into it. But basically the gist of it is how weird God is, how he will do things that are very unusual to fulfill his purposes, and normally it's whatever you think he's going to do, it's normally like the exact opposite or just something totally that you couldn't even think of. So the Bible is riddled of examples of that, but he only gave me five to actually share. Oh, excuse me, to actually share, I believe. So I'll just stick with those five. So the first is Isaiah 21 through 4. I'm not going to read the scripture, but in it, he says this like metaphor to Isaiah about he needs to go and preach naked. He needs to strip everything and go and preach preach naked, because that is how the state of Israel is to him, naked before him, something weird like that. Anyways, he's trying to make a point, but he literally told Isaiah to go around and preach naked, I think for a duration of like 3 years. So I understand why people think that we're a little nutty, because yeah, that's definitely unusual. But the scripture is Isaiah 21 through 4, so look it up. Hosea 1 and 2 talks about how it's a very similar thing actually, where he tells Hosea to go and find a promiscuous woman because Israel has been like a prostitute unto him, and go and marry her. And so he goes and finds a prostitute named Gomer and marries her. And obviously that is so wild seeming. So like, God, was that really you? But it's there in scripture. So I just find that so odd, but so, like, I understand why he was using it as a metaphor, but also he literally told him to do that. And it's like, Lord, why? Why I gotta do all that? Especially for Isaiah. Like, that's just crazy to have to, I don't know. Anyways, closely related to that is in James 2:25, when, excuse me, Rahab is established as righteous unto God because of what she did for, I can't remember who it was, but it was the two men of God who were trying to escape, and she hid them in a basket and helped them escape the city, or something like that. And someone back then who was considered what we now call like a sex worker, someone back then, it was like, you walk around with a scarlet letter on you, like you were esteemed so lowly. So for him to consider her righteous is like, how is that possible? But it just proves that God's purposes are not our own. Like, he's just so far above our thoughts and our ways. It's just incredible how he can use literally anyone. In Judges 7, Gideon is the leader of an army, and he is the army of Israel, and he is told to go up against these other people, and he starts with 32,000 men, and God tells him, you have too many men. And I'm like, what? God, like, says no one ever. Like, when it comes to there's strength in numbers, obviously, in a military. And so, God tells him, you have too many men, get rid of some. And so he gets rid of 22,000. And God says, no, you still have too many. And the reason why he says this is because he doesn't want the boast to be in their numbers, kind of like what I was just alluding to. He wants people to know, both Gideon and his army and the Israelites, and maybe even the other people who are fighting against him, to know the Lord is with him. This can only be achieved by the hand of God. So after it goes from the 10,000 that are left, he says, no, you still have too many, you need to get rid of them. And so he gives them instructions how to separate them, and then there's only 300 men left. 300 men, that's not an army, that's a joke. But anyways, it just baffles my mind. And then so the 300 men he uses against these other people. And by the way, these other people have I think it's like multiple I think is it like the Amalekites and like all those kites and all them people. And it's like thousands if not hundreds of thousands of people, and he still he they still won. They still were defeated by the 300 men that had God's hand on them. Like, it's just, oh my gosh. It's so crazy. His purposes are so crazy. And then lastly, the last one he gave me is Esther. She was put into a position to save her race, save her people, save God's people. She obviously didn't know that. But one interesting thing about that is he used a pagan or a pagan he used a pagan or a Gentile, however you want to say it, and joined them in union, actually much like the earlier example with Gomer and what's his name, Hosea. And he used him to fulfill his purposes. And I just find that so interesting, because so many times we will discount God and say he wouldn't do that, he wouldn't do that, he's not in that, blah blah blah. And most of the time when people say that, they don't even know what it is to like really hear from him or know like how he works, because it always will keep you guessing. He'll always kind of keep you on your toes. Whatever you think his purposes are, they're probably not that. But yeah, I don't know. He just wanted me to share this, I think, just to blow people's minds a little bit with how he is and how he can't be put in like a box, and he can come through in the most weird and unusual ways. I mean, he didn't give me this point, but think about the fact, I don't remember where it's found in scripture, I believe somewhere in the Old Testament, where he makes a donkey talk. Like, I just, if you made a donkey talk nowadays, or if someone said the Lord spoke to me through a donkey nowadays, some people would be calling some numbers saying like, you need to pick this girl up, she's got some serious issues, she's lost it. But it's just, that same God is still alive today and still working his ways, working his purposes today, and still using methods that might not make sense to us, but he has a reason and a purpose behind it. So we can't discount him, and we can't discount each other, really, because he can use anyone. So that's it. Bye.